Everyone thought that he was a weak village boy, but he turns out to be the reincarnation of the strongest dragon, who was unfairly killed by humans many years ago. Even though he had helped humans fight against various demonic beasts in the past, humankind's hatred for dragons was so strong that they sent a group of incredibly strong adventurers who managed to enter the ancient dragon's lair and trap it completely. The hero of their party delivered the killing blow, and the legendary dragon wondered why would these humans want to kill him, even though he has never done anything to harm them. However, he had lived long enough and thought that dying now would be better than living on, but his time was not done in this world as he gets reborn as a boy in a family of farmers in a small village. His parents name him Dolan, and he grows up to be a pretty capable young man who tries to forget that he was a dragon in his past life. Kids are considered to be fully grown at the age of 15 in this world, which would have been a lifesaver for Epstein, but for Dolan it means to live on his own. One morning, Dolan meets up with his ugly-ass brother, and they go over to the nearby river to fish. His brother asks Dolan whether he is really going to the swamp tomorrow, as it turns out that some mysterious things have been happening near that area, but the captain of the village guard is busy playing Red Dead 2 and doesn't want to investigate. After catching a buttload of fish, he returns back to the village where he meets up with a hottie named Mal and a blonde idiot named Albert. They are impressed by the amount of fish he managed to catch, while Dolan thanks Mal for helping him train to take on any monsters in the swamp. Dolan then walks back to his house where he salts the fish and hangs it for drying, and a little while later, a red-haired lowly calls him for his daily magic training. He walks over to his teacher's house and uses an incredibly powerful magic spell, which impresses the old hag, who claims that his offensive magic is one of the best that she has ever seen. Later that evening, while he is returning to his home, he ends up running into a white bitch who looks like a rich noble man from 1800s. The old chief of the village introduces the girl as Christina, who is a noble lady and will be staying in the village for some time. Dolan simply shakes hands with Chris and immediately realizes that she is incredibly skilled. He wonders what she is doing here, but he doesn't have enough time as the sun is setting, so he hurries towards his parents' house to share some food he collected with them. He is warmly greeted by his family, and his mom cooks a bomb dinner for them as usual. After dinner, his dad tells him that he should get married quickly so that his hands can get some rest at night at least, but Dolan says that he wants to hoe out a little more in his single days before settling. The next morning, he leaves for the swamp, but finds out that half the village is there to say goodbye. After traveling for several hours through the lush forests filled with monsters and wild animals, he finally reaches the swamp, which has turned green in color and smells like my dad's socks, though I have never seen my dad or his socks. He analyzes the dirty water and realizes that the elemental energy of this place is unbalanced, and that's why no one can survive here. Before he could do anything about it though, he hears the rustling of some leaves and turns around immediately. He knows that only a very strong monster can survive these conditions, so he grabs his sword and gets ready for a fight. But the monster reveals itself to be an incredibly beautiful half-snake blonde bimbo. Dolan doesn't know what is happening, as she is an incredibly rare monster who should not be even in this region, and on top of that, the snake girl starts behaving like a stripper, having a seizure which only confuses him. She tells him that she is not here to fight, but before she could elaborate, a giant monster emerges from behind her and tries to crush her beneath his paws. She screams for help, and thankfully, Dolan comes in clutch as he slashes the beast's legs off before grabbing the blonde hoe and running away. The monster seems to be made out of muck as he easily regenerates its leg, while Dolan and the girl hide behind a giant shroom, which would have made Mike Tyson very happy. The thought immediately starts asking questions, but Dolan tells her to shut her dumb up as he needs to come up with a plan. A little while later, the monster moves away, which gives them a little room to breathe, but the snake girl immediately asks what the hell was that monster doing here. Dolan replies that the monster is an earth elemental which seems to have gotten cray-cray. He explains that this area used to be controlled by the lizard people, who sometimes used to do business with the villagers, but lately they have disappeared completely, possibly because of this monster. He then turns towards the thought and asks what her name is. The girl replies that her name is Cell, and she is from the breed of monsters known as the Lamias. Dolan has heard of these labias or whatevers, as they are famously beautiful and are known for their impressive magical skills. He asks whether she would like to fight together, but she is not very confident in herself, claiming that her magic is not the strongest and she might embarrass herself. He tells her not to worry because he is going to carry, and she can simply provide backup. Cell agrees, claiming that she will try her best to provide support, but she isn't very confident about whether she can trust a human that she just met. Dolan gives her a signal, and they both go on the offensive, coming out of their hiding places and attacking the monster. The giant beast immediately attacks them as well, and shoots mud pellets at Cell, but thankfully, Dolan comes to the rescue yet again and slashes them off effortlessly. Meanwhile, Cell takes advantage of this situation and chants a very powerful spell which creates a red magic circle out of which a giant snake emerges and starts choking the earth elemental. Cell starts having trouble maintaining the spell, but this was enough of a distraction for Dolan to quickly gain ground on the monster. The monster destroys the snake spell and attacks Dolan, but he manages to dodge it before jumping on top of the mud demon, slashing it cleanly into 2 pieces. Cell is relieved to see that they have won, but the monster ends up dropping all over her, getting her dirty. Dolan immediately rushes over to her, checking whether she was hurt, and then thanks her for helping her take down the elemental beast quickly. He claims that she must be cold and dirty and should get cleaned, so by the time night falls, they manage to find a small shack. Dolan cooks dinner, and Cell, with her massive plots, asks if he is not scared of her at all, and he replies that she is not like the other Lamias that he has encountered, who were much more aggressive and wary of humans. He asks what was she doing so close to the human settlements, and she claims that she has recently turned 17, which means that she is an adult now and needs to leave on a journey to find a husband for herself, because Lamias are all females, which means that they have to find a husband from a different race. She claims that Lamias were created when a human female was cursed for being a TikToker, and because of the curse, their body has poison which not a lot of people can tolerate. That's why it's hard for them to find a man who can survive that. Dolan wasn't even paying attention as he was wondering where he needs to put it in a snake, but is snapped back to reality when Cell claims that her father is also a human. Dolan decides that he needs to nail this date, so he pours some of the most disgusting soup I've ever seen in my life and offers it to her. She excitedly eats her dinner and loves the soup, and Dolan tells her that his mother told him how to make it, and they eat it together every winter. Thinking about his family reminds him of the time he was the legendary dragon, always lonely in his own cave, but now things are better, and he has people who he trusts. The next morning, they both get dressed up as Dolan decides that he won't act like a desperate incel and play hard to get. He tells Cell that he would be heading back to his village now, while Cell replies that she will continue her journey south to keep looking for her husband. Dolan smiles and wonders whether their paths are bound to cross again during their journey, but decides to leave for now as his adventures are just starting. The next day, Dolan and the redhead Loli learn how to cook like Walter White and Jesse Pinkman from the old hag. She tells them that unlike normal medicine, magical medicine needs to be prepared with much more care, because just a tiny bit of imbalance in the ingredients can be life-threatening. The Loli seems to be a pro as she gets the recipe right in the first try, but Dolan fumbles and ends up giving himself blue balls. The old hag tells him that he needs to have better control over his fingers, otherwise he won't be able to keep his girlfriend happy, and he apologizes. The Loli Airy tells him that it is not the case and he can keep any girl happy because she is sure that he has a cannon between his legs, and the old hag realizes what's going on. Later, Dolan gets invited over for lunch by Aries' family, and as they pray to the goddess Myrael, he thinks about how he has not seen her since a very long time. After lunch, he runs to the French idiot Albert, who is training some kids to become future knights. They stop training as soon as they see Dolan and rush to show their progress, but he is not interested. He tells them to take a break instead, and then suddenly, he senses the presence of a monster coming from the forest. Dolan doesn't say anything about it to anyone, and enters the forest alone at night to find that it was actually Cell whose presence he felt earlier, and right now, she is in the middle of a hot sponge bath. She freaks out on seeing the pervert Dolan staring at her without any hesitation, and falls back. Dolan quickly catches her and Cell covers her plot as she tells the pervert to stop watching her, but he asks why. Like a total Chad, Dolan says that all living beings are attracted to beauty, so there should be no shame in watching her. That earns him a tight slap, and even after covering up, Cell is upset at him. Dolan still doesn't understand what he did wrong, but he changes the topic and asks Cell what is she doing here. She sadly says that all the men she met on her journey were sissies who were afraid of her, so she came back to find Dolan so that he could help her. Dolan thinks that he lucked out to have this thought back, and says that he had been wishing to see her again. He suddenly realizes a way to get her to stay longer, and then asks what does she think about staying with him in their village. Cell thinks it is impossible because people will be afraid of a monster like her, but Dolan explains that they already have demi-humans and beastfolk living with them, so she would be eventually accepted. As for her being a Lamia, Dolan believes that people would be afraid at first, but her gentle personality and enormous plot would win them over in no time. Cell is overjoyed at the idea that she can be friends with humans, and gladly accepts to live with Dolan. He tells her that living with him will have some good perks for her, and she can have his life energy anytime she wants because that is like crack for Lamias. He stretches his hand towards her and Cell nervously takes it. Dolan sends some of his life energy into her body, and Cell feels a river flowing between her legs. After she is satisfied and smiling, Dolan tells her his plan. A few days later, Cell begins leaving delicious boars and fishes outside the village as a gift for villagers. The roided-up knight captain and his troops are confused. The captain knows that Lamia are powerful and dangerous monsters, and he doesn't understand why would one leave her prey here. He decides to inform the village elders about it. Everyone doubts that the monster who is leaving delicious meat can mean harm to them, but the knight captain says that they can never trust a monster and suggests that they form a unit to kill her. Others agree, but think they should request backup from the capital, but the old hag doesn't agree with them. She tells the knight captain that no matter how much he cares about the village, he should not take rash decisions without considering all things first. Just then, the lowly Aerie comes to the room with a weird pot in her hands, and tells the hag that she did the fortune-telling just as she asked her. The old woman checks the results, and says that the fortune reading says that the appearance of a snake is a good fortune, so they must not harm the Lamia. Dolan was chopping wood outside and listening to everything. He is delighted when he hears that the old witch has convinced everyone to give the Lamia a chance, and in the evening, he runs to the forest to share the good news with Cell. He tells her that there is no immediate threat to her, and now they are ready to move to the final phase of their plan. The next morning, all the capable fighters of the village and the knights gather for a joint training. Captain Balin tells them about the monster called Lamia and says that they need to stay on guard against her. However, all the important people in the village are here, and that is just what Dolan needs for the last part of his plan. Balin and Mal aside, the most important person for his plan is the priestess, who is greatly valued in the village because she can use healing and purification magic. She represents the church and has the power to declare Cell good or evil. Dolan wishes that everything goes well and the priestess doesn't judge Cell as evil. He looks towards the forest where Cell is trembling with fear and anticipation. Last night, Dolan told her his plan, which included him jumping into the den of low-level monsters and Cell saving him from them. She is not sure about it now and wonders when is she supposed to take action. Dolan is also waiting for that moment patiently when a soldier comes running from the forest and tells the captain that he found the monster. However, the monster the frantic soldier is talking about is an angry giant armored bear whose sight makes all the knights crap their pants. Captain Balin tells everyone to slowly head back because fighting the armored bear is trying to headbutt a moving truck. The kids start running, but the redhead boy falls to the ground, and the bear starts approaching him. Dolan rushes to save the boy, thinking that the only way to stop the armored bear is using his dragon powers. However, just as he is about to reach the boy, Cell leaps out from the bushes too, and shields both of them with her body, suffering a severe injury from the bear's claw in the process. Everyone is dumbfounded to see this, and then Cell turns towards the bear, using her innate hypnotic powers to send it back to the forest. Dolan asks Cell if she is fine, but she asks him if he is blind and can't see the blood gushing out from her wounds. Just then, the knight captain slams his weapon on the ground and tells Cell to get away from the villagers. Balin asks him to come too, but Dolan asks him not to hurt Cell because she saved his life and he was not taught to repay kindness with cruelty. Balin decides to question Cell before anything else, and asks if she has been leaving the offerings outside the village. She affirms, and then bows before him, asking him to let her stay in the village. She talks about how she left on a journey following the customs of her species, but it was too lonely and scary experience. She just wants to stay in the village for a bit, and swears that she has no hatred towards humans and she won't harm anyone. No one is afraid of her anymore, and Balin turns to the priestess for her opinion. The priestess is standing still, staring at the sky as tears flow down her face. A divine light shines on her, giving her a message from Goddess Myril. After the divine message ends, the priestess declares that Cell is not evil, and the goddess told the villagers to live in harmony with her. She approaches Sel and tells her that she is welcome into the village. Sel lifts her head to thank her, but then suddenly faints because of the blood loss. Dolan catches her, and she is hurried to the village for treatment. The next day, Sel has recovered enough for Dolan and others to show her to her new house that comes with a fully furnished bed with cushions and a stuffed toy. She is moved by the gesture of the villagers and thanks them. Balin says that he should be the one thanking her for saving his son's life, and then apologizes for pointing his weapon at her. Everyone welcomes Sel to their village, and then Dolan introduces himself to her in front of everyone to pretend that they didn't know each other from the get-go. A couple days have passed by, and now Sel seems to have totally melded with the villagers. Dolan is obviously delighted to know that his efforts were successful and decides to thank the goddess Myrael himself. Later that night, he leaves his body in an astral form and immediately launches himself towards the night sky. He enters heaven in his dragon form, and the beautiful goddess Myrael is ready to welcome him. They make small talk, and he thanks her for saving Sel from being killed by the villagers, and Myrael replies that the Lamia seems very nice, so she had no choice but to save her. Dolan still finds it hard to believe that a literal goddess managed to recognize that he was a dragon born in a human form, but Myrael simply laughs, claiming that his life force was much stronger compared to the others whenever he decided to pray. She claims that he always seemed so sick of living when he was in his dragon form that it really surprised her to find him happy and fulfilled as a human. Soon he returns back to his physical body, and the next morning, he is woken up by a happy Sel who burst through the door telling him to get his ass out of bed. Dolan tells her to knock before entering, as he sometimes likes to bust one before starting his day. Sel apologizes but claims that he needs to get up as today is going to be an amazing day again. It turns out that Chris, the Night Woman, is having a practice sparring match against the Vice Captain Mal. The entire village is standing around them, watching them go at each other, while the men try to decide who is more strong and independent. Chris notices that Mal is holding back, so she asks her to go all out this time. Mal obliges and charges ahead with full speed to show this city thought how things are done in the country. She attacks Chris with her dagger and sword, but the city girl is actually quite skilled herself, and she blocks her attacks before finding a gap and striking the sword out of Mal's hand, disarming and defeating her. Chris immediately pulls Mal up back to her feet, claiming that she is one of the best fighters that she has ever sparred against, which makes Mal blush as she starts questioning her sexuality. Later that night, Chris and Mal decide to head up into the tavern together where they order some grub, but the serving wenches are too thirsty for Chris since she looks like an average K-pop artist. Soon Balin and the others also arrive as the captain immediately asks Chris to drink with her. Albert the French warns her not to accept this invitation as Balin is an alcoholic just like my father who will drink till the morning and then beat his wife later. Mal tells Balin to piss off as she called dibs on Chris, so Balin decides to back off and instead starts playfully chalking his homies out while they scream "Yes, Daddy." Later that night, Chris returns back to her bed where she lays down and looks outside the moonlit window to find everyone enjoying with their friends, but she is a loner with no friends and no bitches. She heads out to the mountain for a late-night training sesh to get her mind away from the self-pity, but somehow Dolan and Sel end up spotting her. And seeing her all by herself, Sel decides to invite her over to her house so that they can train together on her bed instead. She shows off her bed filled with hay and an assortment of pillows, and then immediately jumps on it and asks Chris to join her too. Dolan wonders why are these hoes so thirsty and tells Sel to rein it in, but it seems like Chris is DTF as well, and she jumps on the bed quickly. Dolan decides to stand by the wall in style for some aura points, while Sel claims that she is really loving the village and hopes that Chris is having a good time as well. She tells Chris that she needs to drink some of milk that Balin's wife personally produces and claims that everyone in the village loves drinking Balin's wife's milk. Chris is kinda weirded out by this, but different strokes for different folks, so she lets it go. Dolan starts talking like a main character about how life in village is hard and honest, but the girls are not interested in that horse crap as they pull Dolan back into the bed with them for a fun night. The next morning Dolan makes his way to the tavern where everyone is drinking the milk that Balin's wife freshly squeezed out, while he openly challenges anyone to drink his wife's milk more than he can. Weird, but okay. Soon Chris enters the tavern, and she is immediately greeted by friendly faces all around, while Balin calls her over to try some of his wife's fresh milk. Chris decides to give it a try and engage in this weird custom. She chugs an entire mug down in one sip and realizes that the milk is actually freshly squeezed, and watching Chris guzzle down his wife's milk gets Balan excited as he immediately challenges her to a drink-off. They quickly start chugging of glass after glass, while his wife worries that at this rate, she might end up going down a size. At the end though, Balan turns out to be all talk as he can't drink anymore and ends up losing to Chris, who has no trouble keeping all the milk down. Anyways, a little while later, Dolan takes the two back to his farm to make them do some hard labor, which Sel is pretty happy to do as she plants down the potatoes unevenly, while Chris starts punching the soil like a knucklehead for no reason. Before he could teach her something though, one of the guards runs up to them and tells them to immediately come towards the village gate. They immediately start running and soon find Balan alongside some other villagers already at the gate. Once there, an outsider commissioner immediately has both Dolan and Sel surrounded by a bunch of guards as he asks whether he is the one who brought a Lamia monster in the land which belongs to their king. The village priest immediately claims that the Lamia has been vetted out by the village oracle herself, and she has confirmed that her references match out and she is not evil. The commissioner however claims that he doesn't doubt Goddess Myrel's wishes, but if she has to live like a citizen of this country, she must go through procedures of the government. Dolan finds this fishy, so he requests the commissioner to let him accompany them to the capital, and the commissioner agrees. Just like that, both Dolan and Sel are escorted by the royal guards back towards the capital. Chris starts getting worried about this situation and decides that she should meet up with the headmistress of her academy as she has great influence on the government, so she uses her spells to boost her speed and leaves for the capital herself. She reaches the capital before Dolan and Sel, who are still traveling in the carriage, and immediately gets a meeting with the elf headmistress named Olivia. She tells her to sit down and claims that Sel will not be eliminated since she has Myrel's blessing, but tells her that a high-up mage in the government named Kay sees Sel as a threat because of some recent kidnappings. Chris claims that Sel would never do anything like that, and Olivia agrees, claiming that the Lamia was nowhere near the disappearances, but suspects that Kay simply wants to have Sel killed illegally for some other reason. However, she plans to interfere somehow and save Sel's life. On the other hand, the carriage stops in the middle of nowhere, and the commissioner calls them outside to give them a shocking tip, before leading them to Kay. The creepy witch welcomes them with a fake smile and then dismisses the commissioner to do his duties. Inside the mansion, Kay's servants lay out a feast for their guests, and she tells Sel to feel free and eat anything she wants because she should at least treat her well for calling her here so suddenly. Sel thanks her, saying that when the soldiers showed up, she thought they were going to kill her, and Kay says that it is not true because she has no plans to kill someone as innocent and beautiful as Sel. As they begin eating, Kay tells Sel that she has seen many Lamia in the past, but she is the prettiest of them all. She says that she likes everything about her, especially her flawless skin and pretty scales. Then suddenly, she reveals her true colors, saying that she almost wants to eat Sel alive. Sel is shocked by this female Jeffrey Dahmer, but then suddenly, the drugs mixed in the food hit her, and she loses consciousness alongside Dolan. On the other hand, the old commissioner reaches Olivia's office, and Chris is shocked to see him. She asks him where are Dolan and Sel, but he ignores her like you ignore the homeless guys outside KFC, and says that he needs to talk to Olivia in private. She tells him to skip the formalities and let Chris learn what is going on. He says that there is a female mage in the city who is over 300 years old, and they suspect that she is behind it. The mage is a human, and they suspect that she is basically aping Orochimaru and stealing the bodies of young women to stay young forever. And this time, she has taken an interest in a Lamia. Chris freaks out as she pieces the information together, and the commissioner says that they don't have much time if they are going to save her friend. Back in the basement of Kay's mansion, she is ready to perform her experiments on Sel. She admires her beauty and life force and then picks up a blade to skin her before doing anything else. However, before she can harm her, Dolan tells the creepy witch to stop. He frees himself from the restraints, and Kay asks if she messed up the drug dose. Dolan pays as much attention to her as you pay to the donation request from Wikipedia, and begins examining the magic circle on the ground. He realizes the witch's deal, and asks her how many people she has killed. Kay replies that she stopped counting after 100, and Dolan asks her the reason. She tells him that she loves all things beautiful and wants all of them for herself. So she just collects whatever she finds beautiful and uses it to enhance herself. Dolan knows that this spell is forbidden and asks if she made a deal with the devil to learn it. Kay affirms and then says that she has got her body parts from various creatures. However, she is getting bored of her old skin that has started to come loose now, so she was planning to replace it with a Lamia's skin. She says that she can become even more beautiful this way, and then suddenly, Cell asks her if she brought her here just for this reason. On seeing that even she is awake, Kay wonders if her drug is so weak. Cell runs to Dolan's side and asks the witch if she led the other women to believe her as well before she betrayed them. Kay says that they were doomed to live pitiful lives anyway, but she saved them by putting their beauty to better use. Cell has tears in her eyes on hearing such horrible things, and she says that the old commissioner was right about her. Kay is a bit surprised to hear his name, and then Dolan takes out a communication device hidden inside his ear that has been transmitting their entire conversation to the commissioner and others. Kay still can't understand the reason behind this, when suddenly, the wall is blown up and Olivia enters there with her unit. As Chris goes up to check up on her friends, the commissioner orders the soldiers to arrest Kay. Olivia apologizes to Dolan and Cell for using them as baits, but she needed proof of Kay's wrongdoings so that they could punish her. Olivia and Chris tell Kay that she can't become beautiful by stealing from others, and the only thing that can help her is a rebirth. Kay becomes pissed on hearing this because they have insulted her lifelong struggle to become more beautiful. She was born really ugly, and both her parents left to get milk because they didn't want to see her face. When she first realized that she was ugly, Kay snapped and began attacking every beautiful people she found to steal whatever was most attractive about them. With her newfound beauty, she got the attention of the devils, and with their help, her ambitions and cruelty grew even more. Now that her plan has been fouled, Kay is really angry, and she decides to use her 300 years worth of research to destroy all her enemies. She suddenly transforms into a big, fat, and ugly creature, which reminds me of your mom. She attacks Cell, but Dolan gets her to safety, so she attacks the soldiers with her tentacles, and these dumbasses can't even defend themselves. Cell uses her cursed eyes to stop Kay, giving the soldiers a chance to run. However, stopping something so big quickly drains her power, and Kay attacks her. Chris steps in front of Cell and slashes off Kay's fingers, but she immediately regenerates them. Chris awakens the true power of her sword and runs towards Kay, slashing her arms and tentacles with precision. This makes Kay furious, and she summons hundreds of eyes over her body to use dark magic. Chris somehow blocks it, while Dolan draws a magic circle on the floor and tells the girls that he will handle things from here. Chris trusts him and backs away, and Olivia sees that Dolan has drawn 2 magic circles on the floor to use an attack spell and a barrier spell at the same time. He activates his magic spells, covering Kay in a barrier and then shooting magic arrows at her. Her body disintegrates because of the attack, and then the barrier compresses and explodes, leaving no trace of her. The next day, Dolan and Cell are in Olivia's mansion, where he begins to tutor Cell because she has to give a written exam to get her paperwork. Cell apologizes for getting them locked up in this mansion because she used her cursed eyes last night. Dolan tells her that it is no biggie, and they begin sipping tea. Soon, Chris arrives there to check up on Cell's progress, and not much later, Olivia and the commissioner also arrive there. The commissioner apologizes to Cell and Dolan for getting them involved in the incident with Kay, and Cell gets flustered. Dolan and Cell tell him that they don't mind because everything ended well thanks to the information and the antidote he gave them beforehand. The commissioner then gives Cell her documents allowing her to stay in the village without giving any exam, and she is really overjoyed. After that, Olivia takes Dolan to meet a guy named Denzel, who is the son of the old hag in the village. Denzel and Dolan catch up on old times, and then Cell introduces herself to him. Denzel says that his mother writes about her in her letters, so he knows about her. He then offers to give Cell a tour of the city, and she gladly accepts. However, she realizes the harsh truth of how everyone is afraid of her as she tries to help a boy in the market. Dolan comes to comfort her, so she says that they should buy some gifts for everyone in the village and return there now. Later, Dolan and Cell are about to leave for the village, when Denzel and Olivia exchange glances, before inviting Dolan to join the academy. Denzel says that he heard about his extraordinary magic power that could be refined here, but Dolan says that he has got his hands full with the village stuff at the moment. Suddenly, Olivia walks up to Dolan and whispers that she can sense that his soul is different. She tells him that if he wants to use his powers to help people, he should come and widen his knowledge in the academy. Denzel also tells him that if he learns more, he will be able to protect the village better. Dolan says he will think about it, and Cell becomes sad, thinking that she is going to be away from him. Soon after that, Dolan and Chris help in training the village kids, while Cell and Balin watch them from the sidelines. Cell suddenly begins recalling the offer Dolan got to join the academy, and she worries that he will leave her behind and go someplace far away. While she is lost in thoughts, the village kids begin playing with her tail, and she chases after them. Dolan thinks that Cell has become an important part of the village now, and wishes that things continue this way. Just then, the exhausted Chris comes up to him with a request to explore the forest with him. She explains that there are many powerful and vicious monsters in the forest, and she wants to try out her skill against them. Dolan tells her that she should not venture into the forest without a good reason, and Chris says that one of the villagers told her that he can't take his pigs to the forest for grazing because of the monsters. She says that she will become a bodyguard for the pigs, because it is only right for her to help the villagers in any way she can. Dolan sighs as he wonders why is Chris so desperate to enter the forest that she would offer to guard pigs, but he decides to go along with her. Soon, a herd of pigs venture into the forest, guarded by Dolan, Chris, Balin, and some knights, and that reminds me of our politicians. Anyway, Cell looks at the knights who are wearing heavy armor, and Dolan explains that recently some unusual monsters have been spotted in the forest, so they need to take extra precautions. Soon, they reach the grazing grounds, and while Dolan and the girls stay back to watch over the pigs, Balin leads his men to patrol the area. One of the pigs ventures into the bushes, and the fat knight runs after it to bring it back. To his shock, the injured pig is yeeted towards him by a powerful blade tiger. The guard pisses his pants in front of this powerful monster, who thinks that he is another pig, so it attacks him. Luckily, Balin arrives there in time and smacks the tiger's head with his huge hammer. He warns the soldier to be more wary of his surroundings, and then ironically fails to notice a giant black ant that has crept up behind him. The ant monster attacks him, and it seems that it is too much for Balin to handle. Dolan and the girls hear Balin's screams, and they immediately rush towards him, only to find that he has already been defeated by the giant ant. The ant leaps towards Dolan next, but he shoots it down with an energy ball. Chris asks him what kind of monster is that, and Dolan says that it is not a monster but a demon from the underworld. This one is just a low-ranking scout, but it is still too powerful for ordinary warriors to handle. Chris asks him how does he know so much about demons, and he replies that he read about them in the old hag's books. He then tells Chris that he will pin down the monster, and she should use the chance to finish it off. She agrees and runs ahead, while Dolan hits the ant demon with a magic shot to weaken it. Chris uses this chance and slashes the ant's head. She is still unable to believe that she fought a demon, and then Dolan asks her not to tell the villagers about the demon. They reach the village, and at night, everyone gathers in the village chief's house. He returns from Balin's house after checking up on him, and tells everyone that Balin is still unconscious, though his life is not in danger anymore. While the villagers discuss about the unknown monster that was strong enough to defeat the captain of the village soldiers, the old hag arrives with good news. Balin was returned to his senses and should be fine soon, but the old hag can tell that he was injured by a monster that is more powerful than even the blade tiger. Dolan says that something bad is happening in the forest and volunteers to look into the matter, but the old hag tells him that they should live in harmony with nature, no matter what it throws their way. She tries convincing him that the monster who attacked Balin is a part of nature, and it only attacked them because they were intruding on his territory. Dolan says that they should at least investigate the problem because it could become more serious in the future. The old hag agrees to send him to the forest, but on the condition that he takes someone along. Chris volunteers for that role, but the village chief refuses, saying that they can't risk her life or they would not be able to face the academy headmaster who put her in their care. Cell was waiting for this chance, and she immediately gets up, saying that she will go with Dolan, and he cannot refuse her after seeing the determination in her eyes. The next day, Dolan and Cell pack their bags and head to the forest, and to their shock, they find Chris already waiting for them there because she is not one to sit quietly. Dolan asks her why is she here when the village chief refused to send her, and she replies that she likes the village, so she also wants to protect it from threats. And soon, their group runs into some giant spider monsters. As they defeat the spiders, another monster comes there. Chris is ready to fight, but Cell solves the issue without violence by offering the horned ape an apple. Chris is shocked and wonders where did Cell get this Pokemon Tamer aura from, but when she looks towards Dolan, she finds that the ape's kids are climbing him like he is their favorite tree. They decide to take a lunch break and share their food with the ape family. Chris asks Cell if she is not afraid of monsters, and she reminds her that she is a monster too. She then asks Chris to try feeding the baby apes, and she starts finding them cute as well. Dolan understands that the apes as well as the spiders they fought earlier were pushed out of their territory by a powerful monster. He wonders about the monster that terrorized them while eating, and then Cell suddenly remarks that Chris looks graceful even when she is eating a simple slice of bread. Dolan agrees, saying that Chris is elegant and graceful, which makes her turn red with embarrassment. Cell feels her insecurity complex kick in, and she immediately asks Chris to share her secret of being so charming so that she can use it to find a good husband. Dolan tells her that she doesn't need to do anything special because she is already charming enough, and Cell starts blushing hard as she thinks that Dolan means that he is going to take her as his wife. While she is living out their happy married life in her imagination, Chris and Dolan sense the presence of a demon nearby. Suddenly, a ball is thrown towards them, and inside it is an unconscious fairy. Just after that, another demonic ant arrives there and Dolan immediately charges at it while instructing Cell to take the monsters to safety. Chris comes to support him, and together, they take down the demon ant, but Dolan senses that more of them are coming. The demon ants are spread all around them, and two of them rush towards Cell. Dolan takes them down with his energy arrows, and Chris rushes to take down the remaining demons in that direction. Another demon ant charges towards Dolan, and at the last moment, its partner that was hiding behind it leaps ahead. Dolan stabs the ant on the ground, and for the one in the air, he morphs his arm into a dragon's hand and crushes it. On the other side, Chris finishes the demon ant, but then another one attacks her from behind. She can't even react in time, but luckily, Cell uses her magic to defeat it. After that, they wake the fairy up and ask if she is fine. She thanks them for saving her, and then introduces herself as Maul. She says that the demon ants were chasing after her, and Dolan realizes that someone higher up the authority commanded them to do that. Maul tells Dolan and the girls that she needs their help because everyone is in huge danger. Just as she says this, everyone feels that they are surrounded, but not by the demons. Chris is about to draw her sword, but Dolan stops her. He can't sense any hostility from the creatures who have surrounded them, and instead, they seem to be wary of them. So he lays down his sword and Chris follows him. Suddenly, a tribe of the forest elves pop out from behind the bushes. Their leader leaps out in the open and tells Maul that he is here to rescue her. The atmosphere suddenly becomes tense, and Dolan and the girls are quite wary of the elves. Maul goes to the leader of the elves named Geo, and tells him that they are good people who saved her. Meanwhile, Dolan realizes that they are in the forest of elves. He assures his girls that they don't need to fear anything because they are not here to fight, but asks them to stay behind him just in case. Geo then walks to them and thanks them for saving his friend Maul. They are shocked because they were not expecting this, but then suddenly, the elf leader says that this forest is their territory, and other species are not welcome here. He asks them why did they come here, and Dolan explains the entire situation to him. Geo says that he understands that they didn't realize they entered the elf territory while they were busy investigating, and he will not hold them guilty for it. However, he asks them to immediately leave the forest because things are not good here right now. Dolan asks if he is talking about the demon soldiers, and Geo gets furious as he says that even right now, they are in the middle of a war with the demons. He begins heading back, but then suddenly, Chris rushes towards him. She has no civic sense at all apparently, and she grabs Geo as she asks him about the status of the war. The elf archers point their arrows at her, but Dolan and Cell pull her back quickly. Despite that, Chris continues to tell Geo that the entire area might come under danger from the demon attack, so they should be allowed to help the elves. The elves are taken aback by this, and they stop seeing her as a threat. On top of that, they have seen Dolan and his party in action, so they think that they really might be able to help them. Meanwhile, Dolan pieces the information he got from Geo, and realizes that a gate to the demon realm must be present somewhere in the forest. He is certain that it is not fully open yet, or there would be a great number of demon soldiers in the forest. He decides to destroy the gate before it can open fully, even if he has to reveal his identity as a dragon and get exiled from his village for that. He approaches Geo and asks him to let them fight alongside them, even though it means breaking the rules. Geo is uncertain, but then his younger brother Fio comes there and tells him that the lives of their people are more important than the rules some drunk old idiot made thousands of years ago. The other elves also trust Dolan and his group, and Geo decides to accept their offer. He is about to shake hands with Dolan, when suddenly, a pillar of dark energy rises in the middle of the forest, creating a strong earthquake. While everyone is perplexed and terrified, Dolan is the only one who realizes that the gate to the demon realm has fully opened. The elves decide to head back to the village, and Dolan uses a wind spell to boost their speed. Meanwhile, 3 demon knights pop out from the gate with the mission to lay the groundwork for their king to conquer Earth and get his hands on a valuable treasure. They are really excited for the mission, but one of their comrades is not yet here, so they decide to pass time with a little game. The vampire Loli says that she can smell elves nearby, and they will try to find them. Whoever finds them can kill them in any way they want, and the half-lizard, half-man demon gladly accepts the offer. The gigantic armor demon, however, says that he doesn't have time to waste on this, and he will stay true to his mission. His comrades call him a party pooper, and the half-lizard demon rushes ahead to find the elves. He soon finds them struggling with the demonic ants, and introduces himself as the demon knight Jord, the best spear user in the demon realm. He declares war on the elves and transforms his hand into a lance. He charges towards the elf village, and they try to shoot him down, but their arrows are unable to pierce his thick armor. Jord attacks the fortress with his lance arm, tearing a big hole in it. He is proud of his strength, and then finds an elf soldier who has been separated from the rest. He goes to attack him, but then suddenly, some prickly and sturdy vines tie him down. Jord tries to break free from them, but he is unable to do so, because the goth witch mommy named Diodora, who is controlling them, has tremendous experience with ropes and stuff. On the other hand, Dolan and his group have to defeat a horde of ant demons in their way. The elves shoot them with arrows, and Dolan uses a powerful spell to rain energy arrows to take dozens of them down with one strike, while Cell holds them at bay with her evil eyes. In the meantime, Geo opens a shortcut to the village and leads the elves through it. He asks Dolan's group to come quickly too, but they decide to deal with the demon ants first. Dolan hands the girls some magic stones he found in the swamp a long time ago, and using their power, they unleash powerful wind and earth spells to crush many demons at once. Dolan finishes the job by using a powerful explosion magic, and then they join Geo and others on the shortcut. Back at the village, the goth MILF Diodora holds Jord down and tells him that he won't be forgiven for his sins against the creatures and people of this forest. He laughs, saying that being weak is the only sin, and they died because of that. Diodora tells him that he is weak too, and now he will die as well. She deals the finishing blow to the half-lizard demon, but her rose vine starts crumbling into dust as the lowly vampire shows up. She tells Jord that he is too impatient and stupid, which is why she came looking for him. She introduces herself as Rafflesia and tells Diodora that she is quite powerful, but she won't be able to defeat her. Diodora decides to show her full power by summoning the flower spirits, but they don't answer her call. She panics, wondering what is happening, and then Rafflesia throws a bunch of flowers in the air, telling her that she has already dealt with all the flower spirits. She tells Diodora about how she killed them one by one, and how the spirits screamed in pain and called her for help. This enrages the goth mommy, who says that the flower spirits were her friends. She launches an all-out attack on the lowly, who creates a dark barrier around her that stops the attack. The thorny vines immediately rot and crumble, as Rafflesia says that she is also a flower spirit, but she is a flower of the demon realm that grows only with blood and souls as its feed. She spreads her dark aura around, and the giant rose vine Diodora was standing on crumbles. She jumps away to safety, but still attacks Rafflesia, who tells her that it is pointless. She easily destroys the thorny vine, but there was another one hidden behind it that manages to injure her. Rafflesia is furious that her face was injured, and she swears to kill the Black Rose Witch. Diodora returns the sentiment, and both of them stare at each other intensely. But then Jord tells the two girls that he is here too. He charges at Diodora and breaks through her wall of thick vines. Using this chance, Rafflesia attacks her. Diodora tries to dodge her attack, but she manages to hit her. Diodora finds that she has got a severe burn wound from Rafflesia's punch, and her mana is constantly leaking out of it. She fears that she is going to die at this rate. She doesn't want to die before she avenges her friends, but that doesn't seem possible anymore. The two demon knights charge at her, and Diodora resigns to her fate. However, just then, a bright object falls from the sky, shocking everyone. It lands right at the location of the two demons, who quickly get to the side. They wonder what is happening, and even Diodora has the same question. The light suddenly subsides, and from it, Dolan emerges, shocking everyone because they didn't expect a human to join the fight in this fashion. Dolan turns around to help the MILF back on her feet, but using this chance, Jord sneaks up behind him. He turns his hand into a spear to attack him, but then suddenly, Chris appears there and blocks his attack. Dolan tries to use this chance to slash the Demon Knight's head, but Jord manages to move back and suffers just a nick before backing away. Suddenly, Rafflesia appears behind Dolan and attacks him, but an arrow from the elves hits her and sends her away from him. She managed to catch the arrow, but she is furious that someone dared to shoot her. Dolan decides to end her quickly, but then the forest shakes once again as a pillar of magic power erupts from the gate. The lowly laughs because the strongest member of their group is finally here. Jord wants to finish the humans before he can get here, but then suddenly, he finds himself unable to move because of Sel's power. She comes down the stairs and turns her rage into power, summoning a 7-headed snake to attack Jord. Rafflesia runs towards her to suck her magic power, but Dolan uses a powerful explosion spell to yeet her high in the air, and then Diodora slaps her to the ground with one of her rose vines. Meanwhile, Sel has tied down Jord with her snakes, and Dolan charges a powerful fire spell to finish him off. Suddenly, he feels another powerful enemy attacking the village, and changes the target of his spell to it. And then from the smoke of the explosion, the huge demon knight named Jaren comes forward. He appears right next to Sel and says that his master wants her, and she cannot refuse. She is afraid of him, and because of that, her grip on Jord becomes weak. He tears through the magic snakes, and then tells Jaren that the Lamia girl is his prey. He attacks Sel, and Dolan rushes to help her, but Chris is faster than him, and she deflects the demon's attack. Jord is impressed by her strength and says that she must be a superhuman. He says he will have more fun killing her, and Chris tells him to have fun while dying at her hands. She awakens the power of her magic sword and then swiftly climbs on Jord's back before stabbing him. He gets enraged and Chris attacks him again, while Sel uses her power to summon a rock hand and restrains Jaren. She asks Dolan to leave this bastard to her, and then blasts it with a dark magic attack, but he is not harmed at all. She uses the 7-snake spell again, but Jaren says that it only feels like a massage. She tries to choke him with the snakes, and he only says, "Harder, mommy." He tells Sel that she is not fit to be on a battlefield because she is not prepared to kill. He tears through the snakes with his axe, and then attacks her, but Dolan blocks his swing. He charges his hand with magic and punches Jaren away. He is amazed at Dolan's strength, who says that the battle is already over. Just then, the last demon knight lands there and Dolan can tell at a single glance that he is quite strong. Jaren backs away as he lets the new guy take charge of battle, and Dolan can say that he is not a barbaric demon who just wants to hurt others for the fun of it. Instead, he looks like a battle junkie who enjoys fighting with strong opponents. The 4th demon says that Dolan is really strong to be able to hurt one of his peers. He draws out his massive swords, saying that he will enjoy this fight to the fullest. Dolan charges at him and clashes swords with the demon, who is impressed by his strength. He says that Dolan reminds him of someone else, but they definitely can't be related. He then attacks Dolan with both his swords, but he parries the attack with his dragon skills, shocking the demon. Dolan realizes that the demon noticed his trick and attacks him without giving him a chance to recover. The demon tries to counter, but then Dolan uses an explosion spell at him point blank, but he survives that. Dolan says that he seemed different from the other demons right from the beginning, but he massively outclasses them. This can only happen if the demon is a fallen god, and the demon is impressed that Dolan could get this much information just with a short interaction. He knows that Dolan is hiding secrets too, but he decides to talk with weapons and not words. Dolan realizes that he can't defeat the demon in his human form, but if he turns into a dragon, the elf village might get destroyed because of his power. The demon suddenly charges at him and pushes him back with reckless attacks, but Dolan finds a chance and counterattack. His attack is too shallow, and the demon laughs, saying that it is his lucky day that he gets to fight a strong enemy. He begins charging his mana, and then Rafflesia and Jord leap above him, telling Dolan that they are still in the fight. Sel and Chris want to help him, but Jaren is blocking their way. Rafflesia and Jord launch a combo attack at Dolan, but he summons his dragon wings instantly to launch a strong wind that blows away their attacks. He then shoots a magic bullet that brings them down, and in the meantime, the 4th demon has finished charging up. He stabs the ground with one sword and points 2 towards the sky as he begins chanting a magic spell. He tells Dolan that only if he survives this attack will he consider him a real enemy, and then launches a slash that reaches the sky. However, Dolan remains unfazed and uses his strength to strike the slash from below, easily dissipating it. The demon begins laughing at this, saying that he never thought that someone on Earth could dispel his ultimate attack. Dolan tells him that he is not fighting for his entertainment, but his attention keeps going to the girls who are facing the other demon. The fourth demon realizes that Dolan can't fight fully because of this situation, and since his true power may harm those around him, so he decides to change the rules of the battle to make it more enjoyable for him. He declares to the elves that they only have two choices now. They can either fight the demons and perish, or surrender and live under them. He declares that he and his friends will raid their village 3 days later again, and they should come up with a decision by that time. He then calls out to the other 3 demons and tells them that they have fought enough for today. Before leaving, Jaren tells Sel that mercy towards the enemy is a greater sin than defeat, and Jord tells Chris that he will never forget the humiliation he faced at her hands. He begins walking away, and Rafflesia climbs on his back as she tells Diodora that the next time they meet, she will torment her till she begs for her death. Diodora swears that she will get revenge for her friends. Back to Dolan and the fourth demon, they promise each other to fight at their full strength without mercy after 3 days. The demon laughs as it flies away along with its friends, and it seems that he has realized Dolan's true identity. As they get out of sight, Sel comes running to Dolan and hugs him. She is almost in tears as she asks him if he is fine. He tells her that he is completely fine, and then asks if she got hurt. Sel says that she is fine, and then Chris comes there to say that she is also not harmed, even though no one asked her. They go to the house of the village chief Dio, who was waiting for them along with his friends. He has heard about the fight and thanks Dolan and the girls for helping their village. He then introduces himself and his friends Vlake the werewolf and Alcy and Arachne. The chief says that since this matter is bigger than just their tribes, they have decided to seek advice and help from the people in the kingdom as well. Just then, the elf headmistress Olivia comes there to represent the human kingdom, shocking Dolan and others. Chris asks Olivia what is she doing here, and Olivia reveals that she was raised in this village before she came to the human kingdom. As soon as she learned about trouble in the village, she immediately came here to help. The elf chieftain tells them to catch up later, because they have more important things to do right now. He says that they are not going to wait patiently for the 3-day ultimatum given to them by the demons to pass, and instead, they will gather their strongest warriors tomorrow and attack the demon gate. The spider mommy says that demons can stay in this world because they receive power from the gate, and the werewolf adds that once they destroy the gate, the demons won't be able to stay here and they will be sent back to their realm. Dolan steps ahead to tell the elders that he agrees with their philosophy, and he wishes to fight alongside the forest dwellers. The elf chief Dio says that they can't ask for more help from outsiders, but the werewolf thinks differently. He says that they have seen how strong Dolan and his friends are, and right now, their village is in a very dire situation. He says that they should be the ones begging Dolan to help them, and asks the old elf to reconsider. The spider mommy agrees with him, and then even Olivia tries to convince Dio to trust in the ability of Dolan and the 2 girls. She informs him that the kingdom is also going to send its troop to support the forest dwellers, but they will take some time to come here, and they should use all resources available to last till then. Dio is convinced after all this, and he requests Dolan and the girls to help them. Dolan tells him that they will do everything they can to keep the forest safe, and the girls agree. The Black Rose mommy Diodora doesn't seem to like the arrangement. On the other hand, Jord and Rafflesia are killing their own soldiers out of frustration because they couldn't finish their opponents in the battle. Jaren tells them to stop because they don't have an infinite supply of demon soldiers, but they don't listen to him. He turns to the 4th demon, Jorg, and asks him to say something, but he tells Jaren to let them do as they please. He believes that they are just high on adrenaline because of the upcoming battle, and it will be good to relieve some of their pent-up frustration before the fight. Jaren says that he is also excited about his fight with Sel, because even though she is not mature yet, she has the potential to challenge him. Jorg says that he only cares about Dolan, because he has not faced an enemy like him in a very long time. He can tell that not only is Dolan incredibly strong, his aura clearly revealed that he was not an ordinary human, but a greater life form he once saw when he was a warrior in the army of Lord Aldous, the god of war. It was a long and brutal war between the good gods and the evil ones, and Jorg and his friends were the few survivors left in their area. They were worried about their god who was fighting on the front lines, when suddenly, a giant white dragon passed in front of them. One of the soldiers knew that goddess Myrael had summoned the dragon god to help them in the battle, and Jorg could only stare at him with awe back then. Now, Jorg realizes that Dolan is the same dragon god who annihilated the demons in the past, and he is eager to fight him at his full strength. Back in the elf village, Dolan goes to talk to Diodora, who tells him to go away because she is not in the mood to talk right now. He says that he just wanted to make sure everything is alright before the battle, and Diodora snaps at him for being too nosy. She is startled when she finds that Dolan is closer than she expected, but he just asks about the wound she got in the fight. Diodora shows him the rotting wound in her stomach, and Dolan uses his life force to heal her. She is shocked and asks if he is even human, and he tells her that he is a bit of an exception. After that, Dolan returns to the room where Sel and Chris are waiting for him. The Elfio and the Fairy Mall are also there with food for him. After Dolan eats, Sel takes away the plate, but he notices her hands trembling as she picks it up. Later, as everyone is trying to sleep, Dolan wakes up and finds that Sel is not in her hammock. She is in the balcony, staring at the stars while holding a plushie, and Dolan finds her there. She asks him if he can't fall asleep either, and before he can reply, he notices that her hands are still trembling. He decides to play along, and lies that he couldn't sleep so he came out to get some fresh air. Sel tries to comfort him, saying that she found something remarkable, and if he sees it, he will feel better too. Dolan doesn't have high hopes, but as he steps in the balcony and sees the moon shining from between the branches of a giant tree and illuminating the village, he is left awestruck. Sel says that she can also hear a cute clinking sound every now and then, and Dolan says that they must be blacksmiths working for the battle tomorrow. Sel suddenly gets nervous on hearing that and apologizes for calling the sound of blacksmiths working cute. Dolan sits down next to her to comfort her, and then says that he has noticed that she is looking extremely anxious ever since their battle ended. He says that he knows she is not cut out to be a fighter, but she got involved in the battle because of him. Sel immediately tells him that he is wrong, and says that it is not the fighting that she is scared of. She begins explaining that during the fight she had the chance to kill Jaren, who was evil and had hurt the elves. Despite that, she hesitated in killing him and froze in panic instead. She says that she is not a good Lamia, and Dolan says that he also thought that Lamia were supposed to be cold and cruel, but that was till he met her. He tells her that if she was like the Lamia he had heard of, he would not bring her to the village. Sel begins turning red as Dolan tells her that she doesn't have to change because he likes her as she is. Sel gets flustered on hearing this, and then Dolan gives her a small pendant. She can sense an incredible amount of magic coming from the pendant and asks what is it, and Dolan says that it is a good luck charm he made specifically for her. He doesn't tell her how he made it, but says that he made it with the wish to protect her. He ties the ornament around Sel's wrist, saying that it will protect her in the battle tomorrow. She feels better on hearing this, and as the two of them are staring at each other, Chris comes from behind and throws a blanket on them, saying that they will catch a cold if they sit out in the open. She then tells them that it is not fair to gatekeep such a beautiful scenery, and Dolan and Sel welcome her to share the blanket and the view. After a while, Sel suddenly stands up, declaring that she will protect this peaceful village, and for that, she will not hesitate in the battle. Soon after that, Sel falls asleep, and after Dolan tucks her in, Chris asks him if he knows anything about superhumans. He hesitates for a while and then tells her that he has never heard it before, and Chris believes him. The next morning, the combined forces of the forest dwellers assemble and Geo gives them an emotional pep talk. All the warriors are ready to fight the demons, and soon they set out to destroy the gate. Earlier, Olivia had explained the functioning of the demon gate to Dolan and the girls. There is one main gate and 3 smaller gates surrounding it. The forest dwellers will take care of one gate each, and then a special force led by Geo will ensure that Dolan and his friends reach the main gate without fighting so that they are in their top condition. Their carriage comes to an abrupt stop in the middle of the forest, and Dolan senses that demons are nearby. As soon as she hears this, Sel jumps out of the carriage, telling Dolan and Chris to go on ahead while she helps Geo's team to fend off the demons here. She tells them not to worry about her because she will be fine. Dolan accepts her determination and tells her not to push herself as the carriage speeds ahead. Selena looks at the protective charm Dolan gave her, and swears that she will not hesitate this time. Meanwhile, the demons are also ready for the forest dwellers' preemptive attack. Jord is guarding one of the minor gates, and a huge army of forest residents comes to fight him. On the other side, Rafflesia is also eagerly waiting for someone to come to her, and soon, Diodora shows up there alone. She declares that she is going to kill Rafflesia by herself, and the demon Loli laughs, saying that she is going to have fun while tormenting her. At another gate, Geo and his troops are facing against Jaren, but their magic and arrows don't have any effect on the armored demon. Suddenly, Cell comes there and tells everyone to get aside. She uses her power to create rocks in the air to crush Jaren, and then she is surprised by the result because she was never this strong. The elves are shocked to see her and ask if she is not going to the main gate with the others. Cell says that she left the main gate to Dolan and Chris. Just then, Jaren pushes away all the rocks and comes out. He tells Cell that she has got a lot of good magic, and it will be fun to eat her. Cell says that she will also swallow him whole, and I don't know if they are going to fight or do a 69. Meanwhile, Dolan and Chris are still heading to the main gate. Chris is worried about Cell and Dolan says that he will likely struggle a lot, but he was impressed by her determination to improve and he wants to encourage her. Despite hearing that, Chris is still worried about Cell, so she thinks that she should go back and support her, but Dolan stops her. He explains that he gave Cell a special magic stone that will help her. He asks Chris to trust in their friend, and she calms down for a bit before getting worried again. Suddenly, the carriage driver tells them that they are going to reach the next minor gate, where Jord is toying with the spider people and the werewolves. Chris tells the driver to escape because she is going to slam the carriage into the demon in a way that will make Dom Toretto proud. She tells Dolan to head to the main gate, and then speeds the carriage towards Jord, doing a drift at the last moment and slamming the carriage into him without harming the horses. Jord loses his balance, and then Chris strikes him to topple him down. The Iraqan girl behind her feels herself turning lesbian on seeing this, but Chris tells her to take her friends and leave the battlefield. Jord gets up and turns towards her, saying that he had been waiting for their rematch. Chris awakens the power of her magic sword, transforming it. Jord charges at her, but she dodges his attack and then leaps up to deliver a powerful blow, but the demon blocks it. They keep exchanging blows, and Chris manages to hit Jord's head, cracking a bit of his helmet. On the other hand, Rafflesia has been tiring out the goth mommy by sending only the demon ants after her. She decides to get serious eventually, and summons creepy tentacle vines from the ground that form a dome around them. Rafflesia says that they can fight without any interference here, and then releases her black mist. Diodora tries blowing it away with a strong breeze, but then Rafflesia uses the power of the flower spirits she has absorbed and throws it at her like a bomb. Diodora takes some damage from that, and she dodges the next attacks of Rafflesia, but finds that there are too many blasts that she cannot handle at once. Rafflesia keeps attacking her and disintegrates Diodora's vines with her black mist. She tells the goth mommy to entertain her more, but then Diodora decides to stop holding back her power. She summons vines with black roses on them, and a black aura starts releasing from her body. She says that she never wanted to use this power again, but Rafflesia forced her to. Rafflesia realizes that Diodora's true power is just like her, and she is thrilled because now they can do a competition about who is better at sucking life force. They both shoot their dark mist towards each other, but Rafflesia is the stronger one, and she overwhelms Diodora. She surrounds her in her black mist and begins absorbing her power, saying that she was all bark and no bite. Rafflesia starts enjoying the taste of Diodora's magic, and the goth MILF tells her to enjoy it well because it is the last thing she will ever consume. Suddenly, Rafflesia feels a sharp pain in her cheek, and then a black rose grows out of it. She screams in pain, and then numerous other vines grow out of her body, restraining her and squeezing her. She cries in pain as the rose vines begin to strangle her, and Diodora tells her that the result of the battle was decided even before they fought. She explains that yesterday, when she landed a hit on her and cut her cheek, she planted a very tiny black rose seed there. Once Rafflesia began to absorb her magic power today, the seed germinated and grew up in an instant. The demon Loli begins to cry that she doesn't want to die, but Diodora has no mercy for her, and she squashes her with her rose vines. Once the girl is dead, the vine dome disappears, but Diodora has used too much strength now. She falls to the ground, and as the demon ants surround her, she thinks that she is going to die. Suddenly, energy arrows rain from the sky, defeating all the demon ants in one go. Diodora looks up to see what is happening, and to her surprise, Dolan is flying in the sky with dragon wings coming out of his body. He comes down and casts a healing magic circle on Diodora, and then destroys the demon gate with a powerful offensive magic. Diodora thanks him for saving her life, and then asks if he is really not a human. Dolan looks at his wings, and then tells her that he is a human, but he was a dragon in his previous life, so his soul is still of a dragon. Diodora is amazed that she is seeing a dragon incarnate for real. She tries to get up because she wants to help Dolan, but he tells her that he can finish the fights faster on his own. Diodora tries to seduce him by showing off her jugs, but Dolan is unfazed like a total Sigma. The goth MILF gives up, and then tells him to be careful, because if he loses control of his power even for a bit, he can destroy the entire forest. Dolan tells her that he will be careful, and then flies away. On another battlefield, while the elves hold back Jaren, Geo and Theo tend to an injured Cell, whose tail has been impaled by a sharp branch. She is barely conscious, and she doesn't even understand why Theo is sounding so worried till she looks at her tail. She freaks out, and Geo quickly pulls out the spike from her tail. He is about to cast a pain relief spell on her, but then the magic stone Dolan gave her activates, instantly healing her wound. The two elves are surprised to see this, but then they find that Jaren is coming towards them. Theo tells Cell to run straight without looking back because it will take her out of the forest, but Cell doesn't want to abandon everyone and survive alone. Meanwhile, Chris is locked in an intense battle with Jord. Even though she is the more skilled one of them and lands constant hits, it is pointless since the red demon instantly heals. He says that her power is exactly as he expected from a superhuman, and Chris finally snaps, asking him what the hell does he even mean. The demon laughs as he realizes that the girl doesn't know what she is. He tells her that superhumans are a rare breed among humans that are much more powerful and smarter than even the best of normal humans. However, normal people look at superhumans with fear and disgust because they cannot accept them. Those words dig up a memory that Chris didn't want to remember, and she gets angry. Jord tells her that superhumans have killed demons, evil gods, and even the strongest dragon god as well. Chris is shocked to hear this, and Jord repeats that the hero who killed the dragon god was a superhuman. She suddenly remembers an old song about the dragon and the hero, but hearing about the details of superhumans somehow awakens her latent power. She charges at Jord, slashing his arms and legs without any difficulty. On realizing that he cannot win, he gives up and says that he wonders how did the dragon feel when he was killed by the hero. Chris slashes his head off, and after Jord vanishes, she begins thinking about the song that said that the hero and the dragon were friends. She realizes that the hero must have betrayed the dragon and killed him, and the dragon must have really resented him. On the other hand, Dolan finally reaches the main gate, where Jorg is patiently waiting for him. He bows to him, saying that ever since he saw him in the War of Gods, he always wanted to fight against him. Dolan asks him if he knows his true form. Why is he committing suicide by fighting against him? Jorg says that he is just a battle junkie, and since Dolan is in the body of a human now, he might actually be able to defeat him. He tells Dolan that he cannot use his full power in this forest, and suggests him to move to the demon realm, where he can use his abilities without holding back. Dolan accepts the suggestion, and they enter the demon realm to finish their fight. On the other hand, Theo once again tells Cell to run away and not look back. She leaves to fight alongside the other elves, and Cell is left torn about what to do next. She admits that she is hopelessly scared, and in the end, she could never bring herself to seriously harm her enemy. Despite that, she wants to return to the fight, but as the trees begin to close the path, she finds that her body is not moving according to her will. She starts crying, wondering what can she do now. Outside, the elves are holding their own against Jaren. Theo ties his arm with vines, and when he frees it, Geo shoots an arrow at his exposed joint, and another elf shoots a lightning attack to deal even more damage. Jaren praises their coordination, and then tells them that this level of attack power won't be able to take him down. Suddenly, his stomach turns into 6 tentacles with sharp spikes at the end. Everyone is shocked, and Jaren tells them that he can alter his entire body at will, and his armor and helmet are also part of his body. He attacks the elves with his tentacles, and Cell hears their loud screams. She tries crawling towards them immediately, but finds that her body is still in a lot of pain. Luckily, she can move now. She looks at the magic stone Dolan gave her, and asks him to give her strength so that she can protect her friends from being hurt. Outside, Jaren has defeated all the elves, and he is holding Geo by his head, asking if this is all his people can do. he tosses him away. But just as he is about to deliver the finishing blow, Cell comes there and ties him down with strong magic chains. Everyone is surprised to see her, and Jaren laughs, saying that she will be more fun to fight than the elves. He tears the chain and then sends his tentacles towards her. But Cell summons her magic snake that bites the tentacles. Jaren decides to attack her directly, but she summons a giant fist from Earth and smacks him away. She then tells Theo and others to get away from her because right now she is overflowing with mana, and she doesn't think that she can hold back her power. The elves immediately run away, and then Jaren stands up once again, releasing his demonic aura to fight at full strength. Cell summons a bunch of rocks to bury him, but he easily gets free from them. Cell starts chanting a powerful spell, and Jaren rushes to defeat her before she can complete it. However, Cell is getting a massive power boost from Dolan's magic stone, and that increases the power of her magic eyes to hold the demon knight in his place while she completes her spell. She summons 5 snakes and sends them to attack Jaren, who breaks free from her control and fights back. However, Cell draws even more power from the magic stone, and the 5 snakes fuse to become a giant dragon head. Jaren is completely taken aback by that, and the dragon head bites him, ending his life. On the other hand, Dolan and Jorg are in the demon realm, ready to fight. Dolan transforms his left hand into a draconic form and spawns more wings to unleash his full power, and Jorg is smitten. He praises Dolan as the strongest of dragons whom even the evil gods feared, and then draws out his swords, saying that he is the most excited for this battle. Dolan tells him that he will pay for challenging him by getting deleted from existence, and Jorg says, "Nah, I'd win." He attacks first, but Dolan forces him to retreat. Jorg then summons lightning and earth magic, combining them into a powerful slash, but Dolan has no difficulty slashing it away. Meanwhile, on the surface, Cell, Chris, and Diodora unite after defeating their enemies, and they decide to go to the main gate. Olivia is already there, and on seeing the place empty, she realizes that Dolan has gone to the demon realm to fight the last enemy. She finds a magic circle on the ground with a magic crystal there, and as the leaders of the 3 forest tribes come there, she quickly hides the crystal. Olivia tells them that Dolan went to the demon realm to fight against the demon knight, and the spider mommy suggests destroying the gate using this chance to ensure that the forest stays safe. The werewolf calls that a dishonorable act, but the spider mommy is ready to commit it for the sake of her people. Soon, Cell and others reach the gate too, and they are shocked to learn that all the elders are thinking of sacrificing Dolan to save the village. They say that in case Dolan loses, they will be doomed, but Cell confidently declares that Dolan will never lose. Chris agrees with her and says that her gut says that Dolan will win. The elders are not convinced, but as Diodora and Geo also support Dolan, saying that if they abandon him, their victory would mean nothing, they are forced to reconsider. Back in the demon realm, Dolan has the demon knight against the ropes. He still tries to fight back with his full strength, launching countless rapid slashes at him, but Dolan dodges all of them. Jorg fires a dark blast at him, and in response, Dolan shoots his dragon breath towards him, overwhelming his attack and causing a huge explosion. Jorg somehow survives that, and appears behind Dolan to launch a sneak attack. However, Dolan notices him, and chops off his hands one by one. Finally, he slashes the demon in half, telling him that this is the revenge of all the forest dwellers who lost their lives to him. Jorg tells him that he regrets nothing, and dying at the hands of a dragon is the greatest honor for him. He disappears with that, but Dolan's problems are still not over, because a powerful demoness spotted him after he used his powerful attacks, and she laughs, saying that the dragon god is not yet dead, and she can play with him again. Soon after that, Dolan returns to the surface without any incidents, and Cell runs to hug him. After that, they destroy the demon gate, turning the forest to normal, and everyone celebrates their victory. They return to the village, and at night, a huge party is organized. While Dolan enjoys drinks with Geo and Diodora, Theo comes there with Cell and Chris, who have been dressed like belly dancers. Dolan openly praises them, saying that seeing beauties like them in this dress is the ultimate reward for him. Just then, some elf girls take Chris away because they want to know more about her, and then Theo gives Dolan hints to spend some time with Cell. Following her advice, he asks Cell for a dance, and she gladly agrees. As they dance, she tells him how she almost ran away from the battle, but when she touched the magic stone he gave her, she felt like he was supporting her. After a while of dancing, Cell drinks too much and falls asleep on Dolan's lap. Suddenly, he hears a familiar song and decides to find who is singing it. He leaves Cell sleeping on the stairs and goes to the woods to find Chris sitting on a branch and singing an old song about the hero and the white dragon, who set out on a journey to defeat the evil dragon. Dolan is completely mesmerized by her singing, and he applauds her as the song ends. Chris is surprised to see him, and Dolan tells her that she sang beautifully. He asks her where did she learn the song, and she tells him that it has been passed down her family for generations. Dolan realizes something on hearing that, and then asks her if there is anything after the part where the hero and the white dragon defeat the evil dragon. Chris replies that the song ends there, and there are no lyrics after that. She asks Dolan what he thinks happened to the hero and the white dragon after they defeated the evil dragon, and he replies that it doesn't matter what they ended up with, because he thinks that the white dragon respected his friendship with the hero till the end. The next morning, Dolan and his friends get ready to leave for their village. Olivia thanks them for saving the forest, and then offers Dolan to join the academy again. He tells her that he needs more time, but he is surely interested, shocking Cell. Diodora arrives there and gives Dolan some black rose seeds because they have a lot of medicinal value. However, that is not the only gift she wants to give him to show her gratitude. She suddenly kisses him, leaving everyone dumbfounded, especially Cell, who complains that even she has not done that with Dolan yet. Soon after that, they return to the village, and Dolan tells the girls that once they put their luggage in their homes, they should report to the village chief about everything that happened. They go their separate ways, but just as Dolan opens the door to his house, a hand pierces his chest, and he falls to the ground, losing his consciousness. The next morning, Dolan wakes up like nothing happened. He freshens up and then goes to his field to see his crops, and then Cell comes there to see him. He then goes to the village square and tells the kids about the story of ancient dragons. He says that all dragons are born from the same source, that is the first dragon god. He existed long before any life was formed, and even the gods came to being after him. As he saw the gods interact with each other in different ways, the dragon god realized that he was lonely, and he decided to create more dragons. To do that, he tore apart his body and created different mighty dragons from the different parts. He speaks about the various dragons briefly, and then says that from the heart and the soul of the dragon god, the strongest dragon of them was born. That was him in his previous life, but Dolan does not want to touch that subject. After the story is over, the kids run away, choosing dragons as if they are choosing Pokemon. Diodora and Theo are also there surprisingly, and they ask Dolan if he always tells kids stories about dragons. He says that he does that sometimes because they like to hear it, even though he started doing so for his little brother. After that, they head into the village market that has grown a lot bigger and prosperous, thanks to the forest dwellers coming there for business. Diodora says that is all thanks to Dolan for making trade possible between the forest people and the village, and then remarks that he and his friends are like heroes to them. Just then, an elf comes running there and asks Dolan if he can shake hands with him. More elf girls come there to get an autograph from their girl crush Chris, but Diodora lectures them about respecting her privacy. After the elves go, she begins teasing Chris about being shy around her fans, and when Cell tries to stop her, she uses the scent of the black rose to seduce her. After that, they stop to eat lunch, and Cell convinces Dolan to join her and the knights to hunt some meat. Dolan reluctantly goes to the forest with them, where Cell says that she senses an armored bear nearby and immediately attacks its cave to lure it out. Balin and other knights immediately attack the bear and kill it, but before they can harm its cub, Dolan goes to stop them. He asks them what the hell is wrong with them because they have no right to kill the armored bear since it was not attacking them. He says that they took care of the anomaly in the forest and now the monsters can return to their territory peacefully, but Balin tells him to stop being a naive fool. He tells him that all monsters are dangerous and they must hunt them to protect the villagers. He leads the knights ahead, and while Dolan is confused, Cell tells him not to think too much about it because apart from her, all other monsters are worthless as insects. Dolan is even more shocked by this, and when he returns home, he finds that his crops have wilted. Just then, the redhead Loli comes there and asks him why is he looking at the crops when he is going to go away soon. Dolan doesn't understand what she means, so she tells him that the old hag decided that everyone in the village should go their separate ways and find a place where they belong. This comes as a shock to Dolan, who doesn't understand why would the old witch do such a thing. He runs to talk to her immediately and finds her in a meeting with the village elders. He asks them if they are really planning to disband the village and send everyone away, and the elders say that they have already decided to do that. Dolan objects to their decision, talking about the power of their bonds, but the village head says that he hates this place because they can't prosper here. Everyone else agrees with him, saying that this village is a shitty place, and Dolan freaks out, wondering if he was the only one who loved the village. The next day, he finds a couple leaving the village early with their kid. Dolan wishes them the best of luck for their future, but as he tries holding the child, its mother pulls it back from his range. Dolan is left shocked by her actions, but he watches them go as he has decided to stay back and protect the village. Soon after that, his family also gets ready to leave the village and his mother hugs him, telling him that he is not a normal person, so she is sure he will be fine here on his own. Just after his family leaves, Chris also comes there and calls Dolan pathetic for being the only one staying in the village. After that, he heads to the village and finds that all houses are empty, except Cell. He goes there and finds Cell preparing soup for him. She tells him to cheer up because she can tell he is upset, but then he notices that her shelves are empty too. Before she can tell him the reason for that, Dolan hears an explosion coming from his house's direction, and he immediately heads there. To his horror, his house is on fire, and Chris is the one who started it. She coldly smirks, telling Dolan that she is not the only one who set the house on fire, because the other villagers are with her too. He is devastated on seeing this, and Chris says that she thought he was so adamant about staying in the village because he has a house, and now that he doesn't have one, he will be forced to leave. Dolan says that he won't leave the village even now, so Chris decides to burn his fields. Dolan stops her and then turns to Cell to help him talk some sense into others, but she has her stuff packed already because she is also going to leave on a journey. Dolan can't believe this, and his voice breaks as he asks her how can she do that after they fought together to stay in the village. He begs her to stay, but Chris asks him to stop acting like a pathetic simp. She tells him that they don't want to live with him anymore because he is not even a human. Dolan feels a shock on hearing this, and he asks her how she knows his secret. She tells him that when beings like him interfere in human matters, it is the humans who suffer. He falls to his knees as everyone walks away from him, unable to process what is happening. He finds himself sinking into a bottomless sea, wondering where did things go wrong because he only wanted to protect the village. Suddenly, he hears a voice telling him that his feeling was just one-sided and the humans didn't like him even though he defended them. The voice says that he was just trying his best to be accepted by humans, but in the end, they saw his truth and disowned him. The voice says that he is pathetic for taking the help of his friends to say goodbye to the world like a coward, and the very next moment, Dolan opens his eyes and he is back to being a dragon. He finds himself back in the volcano where he used to live, and begins wondering if the 16 years of his life as a human was just a dream. The woman's voice tells him that it was indeed a dream, and he should embrace his role as the protector of humanity like before. Dolan is really shaken, but then suddenly, he hears Cell's voice, marveling at the dragon in front of her. She says that the dragon really looks like Dolan, and then adds that this place seems like a dream. The woman's voice is perplexed that Cell made her way into her territory, but as she walks towards Dolan and identifies him, the mist of uncertainty vanishes. He asks her how did she come here, and she replies that when she went to sleep, the last thing she thought was about meeting him the next day, so her dreams brought her to him. Dolan sees a ray of hope in her and asks if she really knows about him. Cell affirms, telling him about how they met and how he helped her win the acceptance of all the villagers. She talks about their adventures and how they saved the forest from demons. She tells him that he is surely the Dolan she knows, and then tells him that she wants to come closer. Dolan lifts her up, and then she clings to his body, telling him that he is really big. He thanks her for coming to rescue him, and then Cell suddenly starts feeling drowsy. Dolan tells her to rest, saying that they will definitely meet tomorrow, and as she falls asleep, she vanishes. With that done, Dolan turns his attention to the one who showed him the horrible dream. He tells her to come out, and she takes form out of the volcano's walls. Dolan says that he never thought that he would see the goddess of destruction and oblivion, and also his arch-enemy, La Carvis, after such a long time. He asks her how can she be here, and the evil goddess tells him that she came all the way from the demon realm to destroy him. If you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel and watch this next video on your screen.